I don't think I've ever actually come across stinging nettle in my yard.
I don't think I have either. I've only ordered it online. I've never seen it in my yard. Us here in Alabama do have something that looks very similar to um, stinging nettle. It's called hogweed.
Okay.
Um, but and that it is a bitch to step on that stuff. Like it's bad. They have really long thorns, and I don't think that they're useful at all, but they look similar, and I think they are in the same family, but they definitely don't get used like stinging nettle does. So I don't know if it's because of the thorns or if it's, I would think that if it was as useful, they would probably use it, but they don't have, I've not found any use for them other than cussing whenever I step on them barefooted.
No, I'm convinced that it's been a whole conspiracy, like weeds, the war against weeds and lawns needing to be weed free. And especially like we're gonna do dandelions next. I really feel like that with dandelions. So, but trying to stay focused on dead nettle. Sorry, stinging nettle. Um, tell us what you know, and then I'll fill in what Gemini says.
Okay. All right. So first of all, you don't ever want to touch them. We kind of talked about this in the last episode, but if you're coming in on this episode and missed the last one, you never want to touch stinging nettle without gloves and long sleeves because they have tiny little spines on them that have a chemical in them. When the spines touch you and they break off, it releases the chemical and it can cause like a rash and blisters and stuff like that. So it's pretty painful. Let's see. They are good for allergies. It's the like the nasal stuff like hay fever, itchy eyes, runny nose, sneezing. So they're an antihistamine. They are good for joint pain. Like some people, research will say that some people will like actually rub the plant on their skin. I personally wouldn't do that. I would dry it and infuse an oil and make a salve or just use the oil, the infused oil as a muscle rub. I wouldn't go rubbing on my skin personally. But um I guess it really depends on the person and their tolerance. But
Yeah, because drying it neutralizes the stinging.
yes, drying or cooking will neutralize the spines and the stinging. I don't know if it breaks down the chemical compounds or if it just I don't know what happens, but there's some kind of magic that happens when you either dry it or cook it. It
So
makes it not so mean to us.
so this is one that you don't want to use raw.
Yes, very correct. Um, Research says that it can help with diabetes. Of course, that's one of those. Diabetes is something that I think that, you have to be careful with and definitely work with a doctor, and herbal things can support it, but well, I shouldn't say any of that stuff. I don't want to.
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
Yeah, yeah. Like personally for myself, I would say that I would definitely still be working with a doctor if I had diabetes, but I would definitely also be looking for herbal things to help support me through those symptoms.
Yeah. Same.
Um, Yes. It can help with high blood pressure. Uh, let's see. In my notes, what else do I have? Reduce joint pain. It can reduce bleeding and help promote wound healing. So another thing, another herb that's good for salves. You know, salve is just the infused oil where you take and soak the dried herb in an oil for 4 to 6 weeks in a dark cabinet. You can do quick infusions. I don't like to because I feel like the quick infusions, you heat the oil up and you keep it at a low temperature, of course, but you still heat the oil up and you let the dried herbs sit in the oil like in a double boiler for a couple of hours. And you can make a quick oil that way. I just prefer not to because I try to use as little heat as possible when I'm making any of my herbal stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
shortcuts are not always the best.
right, yeah, definitely. So, um, I think that it just makes a better medicinal product if you can stay away from high temperatures for long periods of time.
Patience is
So,
all key to success and whatnot.
yeah, yes. So, I make a tea because it has a lot of vitamins and minerals in it that can help support hormone health for women. So I make a tea with it. I'll take dried or stinging nettle and red raspberry leaf, oat straw, and alfalfa grass. And I mix those herbs together and I make what?
Alfalfa grass.
I know, I know.
Alfalfa.
Yes. And every time I think of alfalfa grass, okay, first of all, I think of alfalfa from the Little Rascals,
So
but
do
then
I. For sure.
I also think, like, am I a horse? I'm sitting here because I think, is it alfalfa grass that they feed horses?
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's literally, um, but all of those herbs together make a really good hormone support. So, like for me, I'm into perimenopause, and uh, so I try to do as much as I can to support my hormones. So that's one of the things I make a tea with the stinging nettle and raspberry leaf, alfalfa, and oat straw.
You can pronounce things however you want to pronounce things. I just reserve the right to laugh.
Exactly. Yeah, you're my friend. You're allowed to because I'm gonna laugh at you too, so it's okay.
No,
We have a mutual agreement.
I can't help but wonder which one of us is more country.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
And the bad thing is I really try to clean it up for podcasts.
So do I. Okay.
Yeah.
No, yes, I have a distraction behind me because he's really interested in herbs and foraging and things like that. So we called upon his attention just by all of that. I do need you to sit down and chill though and stop being distracting. Okay. Um, well, he always wants to go forage, and we don't have a whole lot to forage around here, but like wild onions. So that's pretty much
Yeah.
like all he knows. But he is fixing to turn 10, and he's got a bike that he can ride up and down the road, and we have a creek at one end of the road, and we have another creek at the other end of the road. So I've told him that he can start exploring a little bit further away from just the yard and see what he can find out there. So maybe he'll be a co-conspirator in a few years with herbal stuff with us.
I can't wait. That
Yeah,
would be so much fun.
I agree. I love it. I love that he loves some of the same things that I love.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have over here, it says historically, stinging nettle has been used to treat various ailments, including arthritis, allergies, and urinary tract infections. Modern research suggests that stinging nettle may have anti-inflammatory, diuretic, and antihistamine properties. You covered all of that. Allergy relief, joint pain, prostate health. So prostate health was one that was mentioned over here.
Yeah.
Of course, always crucial to consult a healthcare professional. And what's funny though is that a lot of healthcare professionals don't know anything about herbs. And so to save their own skin and just cover their own bases, they'll tell you to stay away from everything just to be on the safe side. So
Yeah.
that's the catch 22 that you get with all of that.
Yes.
It says you can also process the fibers to make durable textiles. So, again, if society collapses, you might can use it to make clothes or rope or something. I'm not sure. I've never actually encountered a plant, so it's funny that it's considered a weed and you've actually ordered it to like plant in your garden. But then like
Yeah.
I actually ordered dandelion seeds to plant in my garden, which is funny because none of them have ever took. Do you know you get pink dandelions?
Yes, I remember I seen it in a Baker's Creek catalog, and I
Yep.
remember one of your little videos that you had done. I say little videos. I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I mean a short. I'm I'm so terrible with a short, not a little video.
It's cool. I know what you meant.
Where? Okay. So I saw where you had planted them or had ordered them. I saw the evidence of the pink dandelions in one of your videos.
Yeah, none of
So,
them took, but I think I tried too hard. I You know
mm,
how dandelions want you to just kind of like drop them and leave them alone. And yeah, I think I tried too hard. I think I cared too much. But that's for next episode.
yeah.
Um, Fertilizer. It says that you can make stinging nettle into a nutrient rich liquid fertilizer for plants. So that's cool.
I remember now that you bring that up, I remember seeing some people do that on, I think it was TikTok.
Some people can be allergic, so just which I mean, I imagine that we could be allergic to anything. So
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
ongoing disclaimer for all the videos. You could totally be allergic to whatever.
yeah.
That's all I have over here. It's not a whole lot of information for me, which is weird because stinging nettle is one of those that a lot of people use for a lot of things. Oh, it's got iron, calcium, potassium, and vitamins A and C. So also very nutrient dense, nutrient
Mm,
rich. It has a earthy flavor,
okay,
and you can add it to soups or stews, and even
cool.
pesto. You can make a pesto out of it.
Hmm, that would be different.
Pasta.
Yes,
All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
I do not.
All right, cool. We'll go talk about dandelions now.
Okay, all right. Bye.